I will go ahead and mute everyone, but if you wanted to speak up, you can unmute yourself. You can also chat in the chat box too. And I'm just going to kind of give a presentation about the different trance states and the tools that we use, and we'll do some sort of interactive breathing and toning exercises. Then we'll talk a little bit about what we call astral boundaries, which are very important for safe trance work. And then I'm going to take you on a guided journey and take you on a guided session so that you can explore some of your astral boundaries and different states of awareness. So thank you very much again for joining us. Welcome to the Akashic Trancework webinar. So again, in Akashic Trancework, what we do is we explore consciousness. We explore different states of awareness so that we can heal, empower, explore everything in our experience so that we can truly actualize and reach our greatest potential. In Akashic Trancework, we've come to realize that consciousness grows, evolves in a predictable pattern. We call this the ARE cycle. This comes from the concept of Ubuntu, which means I am because we are. All beings are interconnected. As we've come to understand Ubuntu, we've come to understand ARE, we are. We activate, we release, we expand. As we move through life, we become aware of certain things. Our awareness becomes activated. And we begin to see things, begin to understand things on a deeper level than we previously did before. We call that an activation. We've all been through many activations. We go through constant activations. Some of the more intense activations happen usually because of some sort of intense life event, a traumatic event sometimes, or just something that really shakes us up, really shifts us. And we suddenly see things in a different way. We have a different perspective. So once we do that, oftentimes we become aware of things, usually things within us, ideas, beliefs, but sometimes external conditions too, living situations, jobs, relationships, things like that, conditions that don't serve us. And when I say they don't serve us, I mean that they are not in our highest good. They don't nurture us. They don't nourish us. They're drains on our energy. They're drains on our life force. A lot of times, more so than external things, these are internal things, but those internal things often manifest externally. And as we begin to see these things through activation, we experience a pivot point of sorts. We experience a point of choice where we can choose to release those things or suppress those things. And sometimes we have to suppress those things. And if we suppress those things, we might be okay for a while, but inevitably, invariably, we begin to suffer. We call that the ASS cycle, the ass cycle. It's kind of our little joke. We don't want to have an ass cycle. We want to have an ARE cycle, R cycle, because we are, right? So we want to go to release. We want to let go of those things that don't serve us, that hold us back, that limit us, that block us. Excuse me. More often than not, those are limiting beliefs, limiting core beliefs that we need to release. But sometimes there are things in our bodies that we need to let go of. And these things may be from things that have happened in our current lifetime. They might be from our past lives. They might be from our ancestors. It can come from just the world at large. You know, if we're empathic, loving beings, we experience compassion. And it can be difficult to carry the load of the world, but we really want to be able to enjoy life without having to carry all this stuff. And that's why we talk about releasing. And once we release, we make space for expansion, for expanding our awareness, for pouring our energy into the things that nourish us and nurture us and help us to thrive instead of just survive. We want to create thriving mechanisms instead of just survival mechanisms, which is where so many of us are in this world. So the way that we do that, the way that we kind of consciously move through this cycle is by exploring our different states of awareness. The conscious mind is not especially great at processing these things. The ego self is sort of this running story about the world that has been created by all of our experiences, all of our conditioning. And we tend to talk ourselves out of expansion. More often than not, we talk ourselves out of releasing. We talk ourselves into suppressing, and then we suffer, right? We wonder, why are we suffering? Because we're talking ourselves out of doing the work we need to do. So, in order to really go deep, to really experience full activation, release, and expansion, we want to be able to master the different states of awareness. All of us are capable of different states of awareness. We have many senses, right? In Western science, talk about five senses. We talk about in the New Age world, the sixth sense, this kind of very vague, intuitive, psychic ability that we have. But in reality, we have many senses. The Egyptians taught us that we have 360 senses that we can access at any given time. We don't really have words for those senses in our language, but if we talk about our intuitive awareness, we talk about our past life awareness, we talk about our ancestral awareness, we talk about our dream awareness, we talk about different levels of astral connection. In Buddhism and Hinduism, they have all these different dimensions of being they can go to, and all these different dharmas and things. And all of those paths are just accessing different senses that we have the ability to turn off and on in the same way that we can cover our ears or close our eyes. And most of us have been walking around with hands over our ears and our eyes closed because we don't know how to activate these senses. Or in many cases, they're overactive and we don't know how to kind of ground ourselves in. We don't know how to center ourselves, because grounding is important, but also centering is very important. And when we talk about the astral safe space, about astral boundaries, we're really going to be talking about centering, about bringing our energy in, bringing our energy home. But first, let's talk a little bit about these different states of awareness that are available to us. So, neuroscience, modern medical science, has been able to measure these different states of awareness on an EEG, measuring brainwave patterns. And these are well known in many of the different spiritual and scientific and psychospiritual schools because they're very easy to attain through a number of different methods. We want to be able to attain these different states intentionally so that we can understand and master our awareness, move through the ARE cycles in a safe, reliable way. And also, there's an element of helping others too, which is something that we teach. But primarily, first, we want to be able to bring ourselves to these different states of awareness. So, what are these brain waves? And you may be familiar with these, you may not be. But when we talk about the different brainwave patterns, we're talking about beta, alpha, theta, gamma, and delta. And these are essentially different frequencies that our brains are attuned to at any given time. We have all of these brain waves at different levels most of the time, but whatever brain wave is the most predominant at any given time is going to determine our state of being, our state of mind. Are we awake? Are we asleep? Are we attentive? Are we relaxed? Are we afraid? How are we feeling? It's very measurable. So we want to be able to achieve these different states of mind intentionally. And that's what we talk about when we talk about mastering trance states. We're talking about very specific tools that we can use to navigate between these different states of awareness. When you learn to do this, you'll understand the truth behind dimensional travel, behind astral travel. It's very accessible to us. It's not a detached, vague thing. It's a very real, very practical thing that most of us, especially very imaginative, creative people, can learn to do very easily. First, we have to be able to get into those states. So, in a beta state, when we have beta waves present, we're very alert and awake, very conscious of our external world. This is where we best interact with physical space. In Akashic Trancework, we talk about physical versus astral space. Everything outside of your mind, everything outside of your internal experience is physical. It's three-dimensional, right? If you pick up a ball in physical space and you drop it, then you're having a physical experience. We differentiate that from astral space by saying simply that astral space is really everything inside. Everything that happens when you close your eyes or just look within when you are thinking or imagining or creating or daydreaming, you're engaging your astral space. Sometimes we call our personal astral space our fourth dimensional awareness. It's all of the inner world, your inner life, whatever that is to you. It could be anything. And it's different, of course. If you have an astral ball and you drop it, anything could happen. It could turn into a dove and fly away, or it could vanish, or anything could happen. There are certain laws that do apply in astral space, but they're different from physical laws. So when we're in these beta states, these active states, we're very engaged with our three-dimensional physical awareness. The more inward we go, the more we begin to engage our thoughts and feelings, to engage ourselves from an astral perspective. That's when we go to our alpha states. Alpha states are very powerful. Most likely you've been in an alpha state many times. Hopefully you have been. Anytime that you're resting or daydreaming or kind of spacing out or just kind of reflecting or feeling anything at all, you are engaging your alpha awareness. If you're disengaged, if you're not able to go within, then you don't have enough alpha activity and you probably can't relax. Some people have too much beta activity, and when that happens, typically there's a lot of fear and anxiety and an inability to relax at all. Some people need more beta activity. If you're very ungrounded, if you can't keep track of activities, if you can't do your basic day-to-day lifetime obligations, then you probably need to bring in and stimulate more beta activity in your brain. And we don't necessarily teach that so much in Akashic Trancework though, because we find most people need to really just relax more, right? They need to be able to relax. We don't want to bring in more beta activity. We want to kind of encourage alpha activity. Alpha activity is very relaxed. It's like when you're lightly meditating or just kind of introspective. Your ego is pretty active. Your active mind is still there, but you're just kind of looking within. It's a very powerful place, the alpha trance state. And we can do a lot of intuitive searching there. We can do a lot of visualization and creativity and imagination. And in Akashic trance work, the imagination is how we engage with the subconscious mind. We create intentional things, intentional ideas, intentional astral constructs in our minds using our visual creative abilities that we have. Doesn't always have to be visual, but if we can engage that third eye, that inner visual capability, then we can really begin to fully engage with the symbolic language of the subconscious mind, which is where all true healing and empowerment and expansion can happen. So our alpha states, even though from an external perspective, they're pretty active, they're very powerful and should not be discounted. If you've ever tried ayahuasca or LSD or anything like that, then you've been in a very powerful, profound alpha state where your internal constructs are actually being projected outwards, or maybe you're seeing reality at a different level. It's hard to say, but you're seeing things that you normally would only see within through your third eye awareness. So, some of the most powerful and profound states that we can get into are in alpha awareness. So, in order to induce alpha states, there's a number of different ways we can do it. Really, anything that relaxes you will get you into an alpha state, but we want to make a science and a study of how to get into an alpha state and how to get out of one and how to take ourselves into deeper states. So we've discovered a couple of very powerful techniques for inducing these states in anyone at any time without needing anything external, without needing any kind of rituals or external devices or substances or anything like that. If you can do either of these two things, then you will be able to master bringing yourself in and out of these trance states very easily and very quickly. So the first method is breath work. Not a big surprise there. If you've done any kind of meditation or yoga or martial arts or physical exercise, you know how important breath is and how the breath can be used to bring us between states of consciousness. In yogic practice, they call this pranayama, which is essentially just bringing the life energy of the universe, the prana, in and out of your lungs. And they have different breathing patterns and cycles they use. And we don't get that specific because we've come to understand that it's actually very simple. All you need to do in order to get yourself into an alpha state is count in for 5 seconds and out for 5 seconds as you breathe. Inhale for 5 and exhale for 5. It's really that simple. And it's effective most of the time if you can relax into the process. How long it takes you may vary, but if you do it for at least a minute or two, you'll find yourself immediately relaxing a little bit and going into that nice alpha state. It may vary a little bit depending on your lung capacity and things like that, between 4 to 7 seconds. Don't go beyond 7 seconds for reasons we'll get into here in a second, but it's very powerful to just try it out and see. So let's do it together if you guys are up for it. I'm going to count for you at first and then I'll stop. So I'm going to count in as you inhale for 5 seconds and then out as you exhale for 5 seconds. So get comfortable and go ahead and breathe in for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continue breathing. You'll already find things kind of coming up, thoughts and feelings. It's a pretty rapid shift. Most people can experience a shift into an alpha state within 30 seconds, simply by using these breathing techniques. It's very powerful, very simple. You can do it anywhere, anytime. And beyond just getting into a trance state, it's a very useful relaxation tool if you experience stress or anxiety frequently. Just using that breathing pattern can be very helpful, and you can vary it up. Some people prefer 4 count. 4 counts classic. I find that the 5 count takes you a little bit deeper. So it's up to you. Play with it, but ultimately you want to experiment with what will bring you to different states, what brings you to an introspective state, what brings you to an alert, active state. Breath is very powerful, but it's not the only tool at our disposal, because sometimes for some people, telling them to breathe in a certain way can actually cause stress. It can cause anxiety. Having to keep track of the breath or having to think about it, having to follow it, doesn't always work, especially if we're kind of in an agitated, distressed, or just tense state. So another way that we can induce trance states is with the practice of toning. And toning is a lot of fun, feels really nice to do. Anybody can do it. Toning is just making sounds, right? It's very similar to chanting or mantra. It's not singing because it doesn't have to sound good. It doesn't have to sound like you're making a beautiful melody. It's just about making a sound and feeling the vibration in your body. Vibration is everything. Sound is everything. In our work, we use the voice and we use binaural tones and we use crystal singing bowls to explore and induce different trance states, different states of awareness. So using the voice for ourselves is the most primal thing that we can do. It's very healing, it's relaxing. And we've discovered that just by making certain tones, certain sounds in different parts of the body, we can trigger ourselves to different states of awareness very quickly and very comfortably and in a very relaxing way that kind of takes us out of our mind, takes us out of ourselves. If you're a singer, if you're a vocalist, or just someone who enjoys singing, then you already do this probably naturally. But in this way, we're just becoming aware of how the tones move throughout our body and becoming intentional about where we're vibrating those tones. If you've done any kind of chants or mantras or anything like that, then you're very familiar with this. You can very easily create your own chants and mantras and switch this up a little bit, make it your own, be as loud as you want to with it. But the point is to try to vibrate into your different energy centers, body parts, because that's what will trigger you to different states. So in order to get myself into an alpha state, what I want to do is try to tone, try to vibrate into my face, into my throat, into my third eye, into my nose. And I just need to really just hum. It doesn't have to be loud. I'm going to demonstrate, and I invite you, if you want to try it out. I can't hear you, so try it out if you want to. See how it feels in your face. See if it shifts your awareness. at all when you do that. So I'm going to take a deep breath. Mm. You can change it up. You can be playful with it, be creative with it. But I find when I do that, within seconds, I start to shift to a very relaxed state. If I do it too long, I'd probably end up just passing out because it's such a nice, relaxing feeling. And you can take yourself down into that relaxed alpha state very quickly. It's also a very good anxiety relief tool. So if you're ever experiencing that, you can try that and it will take you very, very quickly to that alpha place. So again, the alpha state is achieved by toning into the face, into the nose. And you should be able to feel the vibration in your face, in your cheekbones, in your ears, in your brain. It's very healing, very relaxing, very nourishing and nurturing to all the cells of your brain. So alpha states are very powerful. We do a lot of work in alpha states just with creative visualization and entrainment and things like that. But if you really want to go deeper and engage the full astral experience without being aware of your whole physical experience, you need to relax more. You need to be able to relax deeply enough to let your body just kind of drop away. This is what we call a theta state. Theta states are achieved when you're dreaming, especially if you're actively lucidly dreaming. You're in a very high theta state, very high theta state. And that is the most engaged inner experience that you're going to get. The more active your theta waves, the more inwardly engaged with your creative, visual, symbolic experience that you are. So, in order to get down to a theta state, really all you have to do is just fall asleep and eventually you'll dream. But the problem is that we don't usually remember our dreams, or if we do, we're so engaged in them that we may not be able to interpret all of the symbolism, all of the information. It's very kind of patchy, right? What we want to do is induce, bring about theta states in ourselves and in others in a way that we can still interact and remember those experiences. We want to remember and come back from those experiences without having to go down into a deep state of delta sleep. Delta states are deep physical resting states. There is a lot of healing that can be done in those states, but it's very passive. You're pretty much just receiving whatever happens. In the theta state, you're fully engaged with your inner symbolic world, your inner astral world. You can connect with any dimension of awareness, but you have to be able to relax down to that state. What becomes a little bit tricky is that, naturally speaking, if you relax enough, you're going to fall asleep, most likely. And we don't really want to fall asleep during a trance session. It's okay if we do, it means the body needs to fall asleep, but we want to try to recall our experiences. Theta states are very useful, especially if we have a guide. Shamans, hypnotherapists, NLP practitioners, bring people to theta states so that they can do deeper work. And Akashic Trancework incorporates elements of all of these practices as well as other practices to really help us to explore and understand these theta states using some very simple practical tools that we teach and provide so that you can navigate these places safely, compassionately, lovingly, and engage your inner self, your dream language, in such a way that you'll be able to release any blockages that you might have, that you'll be able to really understand the depths of some of the experiences that you may or may not have had. Interpreting experience is one of the biggest challenges that we often have. We may have some profound spiritual experiences, but how do we interpret them? How do we make sense of these things? How do we put these things in context and in place? And when we go into our deep astral awareness, to our deep theta places, then we can really begin to engage with our guides, with our ancestors, with our past lives, with ourselves, with our higher selves, with our lower selves, with our animal guides. There's so many layers that we can access once we begin to expand into that space. So alpha states are great, and you can do a lot of this work there, but the real sweet spot for trance work is the theta state. So there's a lot of ways that we can bring ourselves down to a theta state, but we want to be able to take ourselves there without going too down to that delta place and just falling asleep, right? So again, there's two ways that we use to induce these states in ourselves and others, and they are again the breath and toning. The theta breath is typically for most people about 7 breaths, maybe as long as 9, but 7 counts, not 7 breaths. So 7 counts per breath, right? So 7 in, 7 out. Some people find they want to actually hold the breath between the inhale and the exhale so that they can sort of maximize and optimize that space. And if you want to do that, fine. Make sure that you don't hyperventilate or start feeling any kind of fear over the breath. You want to make sure it's nice and comfortable, a natural progression. If you do want to hold your breath for a count of 7 between the inhalation and the exhalation, you probably want to put your tongue on the roof of your mouth so that you can kind of align the energy. It just makes it a more comfortable experience. You're holding your breath. Again, 7 counts in and 7 counts out will get most people into a theta state pretty quickly. You want to not go too deep. You want to make sure that you're not breathing too deeply because that will probably put you to sleep, especially if you've already relaxed down into an alpha state. Your body's natural tendency is going to be to go down that delta place. So if you're mindful of keeping your breath between 7 and 9 counts on the inhalation and exhalation, then you should be able to keep yourself in that theta place and then bring yourself out by doing shallower breaths, bringing yourself up to a beta state if you want to by just breathing shallow. It's very simple. It just takes some practice. You can take yourself in and out of these states much quicker than anyone can induce them in you. So what we're really trying to teach you is how to get there yourself. And then if you are working with a guide, you can take yourself there quickly, and then you can work with that guide in that place without having to sit through a whole induction relaxation process. It's really powerful. So let's try it out. Let's try a 7 count, and then I'll demonstrate also the toning technique for getting down into theta. So I recommend just sitting back and relaxing a little bit. Put your head back, some good neck support, stretch a little bit. Take a couple nice deep breaths. And then we're going to breathe in for 7, and out for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Relax. Just keep breathing for a few seconds. So it's very relaxing, and if I do it too long, I'll kind of drift off into my theta place. So as you can see, there's a dramatic difference between when you do a little bit shorter breath and a longer breath. It's a different state. And you will tend to want to fall asleep when you do this work. So we want to not do that, although these techniques can be used very easily to resolve insomnia and things like that if we just need to go to sleep. If you want to do a delta breath, take the deepest breath you can, really, 9 to even 14 seconds. And if you want to just breathe deeply and breathe yourself down into a delta state, the deepest breath you can do will take you there. So if we want to tone ourselves into a theta state, and this is probably one of my favorite things to do in the universe. This is one of the most relaxing exercises that I've ever done or learned or encountered in many years. We just have to tone down into our chest and our solar plexus. Again, toning doesn't have to sound good. It's just like humming. We do this naturally. And if you think about how natural the humming vibratory sound is to us, if you've ever held a baby then you know how to relax a baby. You've seen how a mother chills a baby out, how our mother has relaxed us, hopefully, was with humming, with vibration, with contact. So if we can hum down into ourselves, we can really reunite ourselves with that vibration. It's very natural, feels really nice, and you can take yourself down to that state very quickly just by vibrating down into that space. So let's do it now. I don't know if you can actually hear me, if the mic picks this up or not, but again, we're just kind of humming down into that space. It's nice for guys. We have that nice range so we can get deep, but you don't have to have a deep voice. You just have to kind of bring your tone down into that space. So I'm going to do it. If you want to do it with me, deep breath in. Mm. I love that feeling. It makes my hands kind of tingle, it makes my arms tingle. I can feel the vibration all throughout my chest. And if I do that laying down, then I can very easily tone myself into a theta state. That's the tool that I use if I want to do a reading for someone, or if I'm just doing my own trance work, I use vibration. So, yeah, it's a great feeling. It's very easy to do. You can do it anytime. It's also just very relaxing. And I invite you to play with all these things. Really, you want to see how your breath and how your tones affect your awareness. Where do they take you? Which ones relax you just a little bit? Which ones completely relax you? Which ones relax you too much? These are some very basic tools that anyone can do anytime, anywhere, no matter what's going on. You can do these things. Toning is a lot of fun too if you do it with a partner, with children, with other people. Playing with the sound waves can be tons of fun. So those are the trance states and the induction techniques that we have. But I want to talk for a little bit about how we do trance work safely. And the important thing about doing safe trance work, about exploring these different levels of awareness, is having astral boundaries. So, what do I mean by that? What I'm talking about is, where are your thoughts? Where are your feelings? What energies are you subject to? What energies are your conditions for being? And how much time and energy are you giving those things? The first place that we create astral boundaries is within our heart center. Talk about centering our awareness. Our primary astral boundary, our primary psychic boundary, is the heart center. In Akashic Trancework, we intentionally create an astral space, an imaginary created space that is our heart center. And when we go there, we don't allow things that don't nourish us, that don't bring us happiness and joy, to enter that place. And if those things do come, that's when we need to create an astral boundary. We create astral boundaries in a loving way, in a compassionate way, because we want to be able to relate with other beings. We want to be able to relate with ourselves. Most of us need to create boundaries with ourselves before we can create boundaries with any other being or any other energy, right? If you can create a boundary within yourself, if you can choose where to send your thoughts and feelings, you can create a boundary with anyone, with any being, with any energy in the universe. So let's think about this for a second. This is an important point. I always bring this up when we talk about astral boundaries. What are you thinking about most of the time? What are you feeling most of the time? Is there a person, a memory, a sensation, a thought that just comes up over and over and over again? Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. But a lot of us have those experiences. Whatever it is that you're thinking about, that is where you are directing your energy. That is where you are directing your focus. That is where your life is going, because you only have time. That's the only thing that you have. Everything else is a measurement of time. Your energy, the amount of energy that you have, is finite in this lifetime. You have access to an infinite pool of divine energy, sure, but you, as this 3D being in this experience, are a finite repository of energy and time. Where do you direct your focus? Where do you direct your energy? When you close your eyes, where do your thoughts and feelings go? If you can decide where you want those thoughts and feelings to go, if you can choose intentionally where you want your thoughts and feelings to go, you have mastered the principle of astral boundaries. But most of us have trouble with that. So we need to intentionally create boundaries. So that's the kind of practice that we do in Akashic Trancework. And rather than talk too much more about it, I'd like to show you through some very simple sort of relaxation and visualization exercises. And this may be something you've done before. This is not a unique practice to Akashic Trance work by any means, the safe space and breathing and all those things. But we believe that if we can guide you through this experience, that you will be empowered enough to master your own states of awareness and move through these different dimensions of being very easily and safely, which is the most important thing. So if you would like to participate in this guided journey, I recommend just sitting back, taking some nice deep breaths. Probably want to have good back and neck support. Just allowing yourself to breathe deeply into your stomach. And we're going to do the 5 count first. Going to count to 5 on the inhale and count to 5 on the exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just keep breathing. And find your thoughts and feelings rising naturally with the breath. Just observe, just watch thoughts and feelings. Everything is there because it's supposed to be there. Just watch thoughts and feelings moving through your mind and heart naturally, like clouds in a bright blue sky, just deeply relaxing as you move down to a deeper state. We'll take 7 counts on the inhale, 7 counts on the exhale. Breathe in now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Continue to breathe. And you begin to just imagine a safe, happy place from your memories or daydream, place you've been or a place you'd like to go. It can be any place, as long as you feel happy there, as long as you feel safe. It can look like anything, it doesn't have to be realistic. It can be abstract and funny. In fact, humor is a good thing here. Bring in things that make you feel happy, make you feel joy, make you feel peace. And as you breathe, relax into this space, engage it with your senses, any sounds or textures, smells, bring them in, all of your favorite things. This is a real place. This is your astral safe space, your heart center. This is a place of unconditional love and compassion, a place where you can connect with yourself. Only good things belong here. Only things you love and enjoy, but you may find thoughts and feelings coming in that you don't want here. Intrusive, persistent energy. Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a memory, maybe it's an idea or a fear, maybe it's something big, maybe it's something small. Whatever it might be, ask it to step outside, to step away. You'll address it when it's time. This is your space to connect with yourself, with only yourself. No energies can come in here unless you invite them, unless you call them to you. Anything that comes in can ask to leave. This is your space, your private space that no one can enter without your permission. You create this space so you can connect with others in a safe way, in a protected way, so that you can maintain and conserve your energy, so you can be a more effective person, so you can love others more effectively, so you can be a better friend or partner or parent or child, a better human. You are allowed to have this space, no matter what your responsibility, no matter what your obligation. There is nothing in the universe that requires all of your attention all of the time. You can take some time for yourself to connect with yourself, to love yourself, your whole self, even the dark parts, even the parts you would never show anyone else. They're still part of you. Send love to those things and ask the unpleasant thing to step away. But you may find them still persistent. These are likely things you think about often, things that want your attention. How much attention are you able to give them? Create now for yourself that astral boundary. Create now for yourself a rule. How much time each day will you spend thinking about this thing? An hour, 10 minutes, most of the day. You choose. Maybe you give it too much time. Maybe you don't give it enough. You are now choosing consciously, intentionally, how much time to give, how much time to give to yourself, even if you seem to have endless obligations and responsibility. You can still take 5 minutes each day, no matter what you are doing, to daydream about this space, to fantasize about this space, to astrally connect with this space, your own heart center. And as you do that, you'll begin to see your entire experience from the perspective of your heart center. And you will begin to achieve heart-centered awareness. Take a moment to rest back into this space, creating any more boundaries you need to make. And then slowly and gently, I invite you to come back to your physical body, to your physical space, stretching a little bit, taking a deep breath, maybe yawning a little bit if you need to. Feeling just a little bit of gratitude for taking some time for yourself, for opening up to a new experience. It's the kind of thing that we all need, a little self-care time. So I wanted to leave this channel open for a few minutes. If either of you guys have any thoughts or feelings that you wanted to share, you're welcome to open up. We will be providing all of this information as well as a worksheet that you can use as a follow-up to this session. If you want to work with us further, we have a lot of things that we do. We have events, we have these free webinars, and you're welcome to attend these anytime you want to. I change them up a little bit because, I like to keep things interesting. Also, we have free consults that we offer if you would like to talk about what Akashic Trancework is and how we might be able to benefit you. We also have a class that we teach, which we call the Akashic You can get information about any of these things at akashictrance.com. You can go to facebook.com/Akashic Trancework, and all the information is spelled out right there. So we like to make sure everything's accessible and approachable to everyone. So if you want to just relax a little bit more, it can be good too. It's not uncommon to feel so relaxed that you want to just rest for a bit longer and reflect. Once again, thanks for much thanks so much for being here, guys. Reach out anytime. Talk to you soon.